Chase Rothman is the waiter at his wife's big celebration. What's next, Chase? Dishwasher of the month. Boris's voice cut through the laughter at the table. Chase froze in the doorway, still in his waiter's uniform, plates balanced in his hands. Across the table, Celia sat glowing between her colleagues, smiling, until she saw him. Her smile vanished. Only if Celia knew who her husband really was, she'd be terrified and proud at the same time.
Dennis's mind was clouded with wine, but when he saw through his nephew's suggestion, "You brat, I think you're getting ideas about her. Tell me, does she really want me to help her daughter? I don't want to do anything inappropriate with an upstanding client." Jason hesitated. He was having second thoughts about his plan, but didn't want to face his uncle if he was angry. He wondered what her husband would do if he found out. Doesn't this guy have connections to Tim Sanders? Tim could do anything. Uncle Dennis, this woman's family isn't particularly upstanding, and her husband is a loser. But they just have connections. Jason thought about it, but didn't mention Chase's relationship with Tim. Hearing this, Dennis's eyes lit up. Oh? Well, if that's the case, then I don't see what the problem is. If that husband you're talking about is such a loser, then there's no way that they could pay for my medical service. Jason suddenly wanted out of this situation. All right, Uncle, I forgot to ask. Is it true you came to Lauderville at Tim Sanders' request? What's your connection to him? Dennis snorted with pride. Not to brag, but Tim's influence doesn't hold a candle to me or people I know in New York. Jason's heart sank. So much for trying to dispel Dennis's advances that way. If even Tim was beneath his uncle, he didn't know what to do. He turned to flattery. You really are a big shot. Even Mr. Sanders deferred to you? Hearing this, Dennis proudly raised his head. Of course. You're very fortunate to have me as your uncle. Now hurry up and get out of my room. Jason frowned nervously. I don't know, Uncle. While they were talking, he started to help Celia up. However, neither of them expected Celia, who had been barely awake, to snap up, alert despite her intoxication. What are you guys doing? She immediately started to struggle against Jason's hold on her arm. However, she was already intoxicated. She couldn't win in a fight. The commotion in the room attracted a few people's attention in the hall. Somebody knocked and asked if everything was all right. Jason shouted at the door. Everything's fine. We're just trying to get this woman back to her room. Celia screamed. Let me go! Let me go! In a moment of desperation, she kicked at Jason's crotch. He let out a blood-curdling scream and jumped away. Fortunately for him, Celia didn't have much strength. Otherwise, it probably would have completely incapacitated him. Dennis flew into a rage, grabbing Celia's shoulders and shaking her violently. Stinking woman, you dare to resist me? The door flew open and Chase Chuck, a hotel worker and Chuck's employee, burst into the room. The bodyguard had been about to kick the door down, but Chuck had waved down a passing staffer. The faces of Chuck and the others turned pale. They all saw that they had arrived just in time. Almost too late. Before anyone else could react, Chase rushed forward like an arrow. Jason, still hurting, couldn't avoid Chase's sudden attack. He received a punch to the jaw and fell. Seeing this, Dennis froze with shock. Who are you? However, Chase had already turned towards him, scaring him so much that he let go of Celia and backed up. Celia, who had been clinging to her last bit of sense despite her drunkenness, fell to the floor. Luckily, Chase reacted quickly and caught her, momentarily leaving Dennis. My love, what more? Are you okay? He asked nervously. However, she only met his eyes before fainting. Chase rounded on the two men. Bastards! What did you do to her? I swear to God, if you did anything to her, I'll beat you both to death. Chuck stepped forward to examine Celia and said with relief, Mr. Rothman, I think she just drank too much. It doesn't look like they did anything else. Dennis's face went crimson. Brat, who the hell do you think you are? How dare you accuse me of assaulting her? Do you know who I am? He wouldn't allow anyone to threaten him like this, least of all a young man who had just happened to pass by the room. Jason was struggling to get up. Uncle D, that's Chase, Celia's husband. For some reason, when he saw Chase, he instinctively wanted to stand up to this man he'd come to loathe. Dennis understood and laughed in ridicule. So you're the woman's good-for-nothing husband? We're just negotiating the price for saving your daughter's life. Think very carefully. I'm one of the best cardiologists in New York, and I'm Roland Zimmerman's son-in-law. When Chase heard this, he was shocked. Wasn't that the famous doctor Tim had referred him to? It was a small world. He hadn't expected to run into such scum. Least of all scum who knew that doctor. I don't care who you are. You're trying to hurt my wife. Chase said coldly. He'd never let anyone hurt Celia or Dottie. Since this man had touched her, he would pay the price. Dennis sneered. I guess you don't care about your daughter. Chase gritted his teeth. Who do you think you are? Get him! Chuck ordered his enforcer, and the man rushed toward Dennis without hesitation. However, Chase and Chuck hadn't expected more bodyguards to appear. 3 young men in black vests rushed from the other end of the corridor and piled through the doorway. Jason, who originally wanted to run away, froze on the spot, seeing his exit blocked. Dennis's face was filled with cold pride. You didn't think I'd travel without my own security, did you? I am not someone you could bully. It's been a while since I visited Laudervale, but I still have connections. Do you really want to start a brawl in the luxury suites? Chuck's expression went from angry to condescending. You guys don't look like much. Dennis laughed. If you two forgot what you saw and get out of this room right now, I'll forget you tried to attack me and I'll let you two go. Chase was already in a rage and was about to charge forward. I think you've got a death wish. He didn't care how many people were there. His duty was to protect his wife. He had Chuck and his comrade too, ready to back him up. At that moment, a man's eerie voice came from the corridor. Chuck Stevens, I do believe you're intruding in my turf. Chase saw a young man of around 30, with a crew cut and thick makeup on his face, walk in with another group of men in black vests. Seeing this person, Chuck's face fell. Miles White? The man in makeup walked up and sneered at him with disdain. Hey there, Chuck. Did you forget that I'm in charge of this hotel? You and your trash came in today here to dare and cause some trouble. And now you're looking at me like I'm wrong? Chase, who was standing by Chuck's side, could tell that these two were old enemies. Trouble? He asked softly. Bad types, with types to New York. Don't worry, Mr. Rothman, I won't let anything happen to you. Chuck clenched his teeth. Chase was somewhat surprised by the determination and honesty in the man's expression. It looked like there was some serious trouble brewing. Miles grinned coldly. You're causing trouble at my place. If you don't give me an explanation right now, I'm afraid none of you will be leaving. Chase squinted his eyes and asked, Can we settle this like gentlemen? Chuck nodded when he heard this, but the seriousness on his face did not diminish. I've known this guy for years. He's a very dangerous man. I knew this was his territory, but I hoped we wouldn't run into him. It was clear that things weren't looking good. As he finished talking, another group of people rushed up from downstairs. There had to be at least 20. They stood staring menacingly. Even Jason and Dennis began to look nervous. Chuck turned toward Chase and asked respectfully, Mr. Rothman, what are your orders? Without waiting for him to speak, Miles suddenly shouted in anger, Chuck, I think you're in over your head. with Mr. Young and his connections, or do you want to start something you can't finish? Hearing this, the fear on Dennis's face disappeared and he looked up with an arrogant resolve. I don't care if he has every thug in New York. Don't forget, this is Laudervale. Chuck told him through gritted teeth. Miles folded his arms. I know you're involved with Tim Sanders. So what? You're just his tool. Apologize to Mr. Young if you know what's good for you. Otherwise, you'll be leaving this place on a stretcher. And this woman is staying with me. Dennis reminded them. Chase had intended to wait and see what would happen and considered his options, but Dennis's words ignited his anger. Chase's voice was very soft and calm. I want him to pay. This simple sentence had an unshakable resolve that made even Chuck more determined. Whatever Chase said, he wouldn't hesitate.
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.